Hello, good evening. It's January 15, 8 o'clock. My name is David Corcoran, and welcome to another episode of Breaking News. I haven't seen you all for about a month or so now. I've been and had the pleasure of going back to Australia, where I'm from. And I tried in vain to get in touch with a couple of Toastmasters clubs. And I had some positive responses from the VPs of membership. But unfortunately, my timing was such that I couldn't attend their events. But I can definitely vouch that Toastmasters is alive and well in Sydney. And I do hope that if those clubs may watch this episode of Breaking News at some point, that we might get to perhaps interview them at some point. Tonight, though, we are looking at the journey of the area director. And maybe you are a Toastmaster, a president, a VPE, or you've done those roles before, and you'd like to take the next step in your Toastmasters leadership. And being an area director is one way in which you can do that. And it's now the season, in fact, where the District Leadership Council, chaired by Toastmaster Lillian Shafter-Kohler, who I'm going to interview in just a moment, is leading the charge towards finding our next leaders. So if this is an episode that interests you and you'd like to find out more, of course, we'll put up some details a little bit later. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring in Toastmaster and our immediate past district director, Toastmaster Lillian. Welcome to Breaking News, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for inviting me, David.
It's always a pleasure to have you on here, and we've had you many times, both as district director, but now your role is as immediate past district director, and you have a special role, as I understand, as the chair of the District Leadership Committee. Tell us a bit more about your role.
Yes, of course. We're responsible as a committee for evaluating candidates for district officer roles and eventually nominating those candidates that we consider to be the most appropriate. And we are doing it right now. It's our busy month, January.
And so do you interview all the candidates, for instance?
Almost all the candidates. The area directors are an exception. The area directors will apply normally to us, but we will send the applications on to the current area directors, and they will interview and work with their own team in choosing the new area director.
Okay, so the successor to the current area directors can be chosen, of course. And what kinds of things, in your opinion, go in towards, fulfilling the requirements to be an area director?
One thing I would like to say is that Toastmasters International does not set any specific requirements. All the other roles have certain preconditions attached to them. You have to have finished this other role or something else, but area director is quite flexible. What we do recommend, though, is that a candidate has served as a past club president or VP education. It will help a lot.
Yes, absolutely. I remember when I've been area director, I think once, if not twice. No, I think once. And certainly, I went from being president to area directors. That makes sense as well. And of course, our district is growing. So how many area directors positions are available?
33.
Roughly
33. That's what we've announced.
Yes.
I have mentioned that perhaps this number will increase or decrease slightly after the current district director has worked with the alignment chair to see if we need any changes.
Okay, wonderful.
But we're looking for around 33.
Okay, 33. And how is, just in general, the District Leadership Committee going? This is your main charge for the moment. How are things looking from your perspective? Is there any news or highlights that you can share with us?
I can share what we've been doing until now. Because when we had opened the call for nominations in mid-December, we had announced it via the newsletter, as well as via an email sent to all members of our district. Following that, we chose to hold a number of PR events, which were aimed at increasing awareness of these district roles, the benefits and the responsibilities. For example, we did appear, as you mentioned before, on the previous Breaking News segment on 18th December, at which time a mini panel discussion was held with a number of experienced leaders of our district.
Mm.
Then, on 8th January, we held a district webinar. The keynote speaker was past international president Lark Doley with a speech, Why Lead? And that was very dynamic. And
It
then all
was.
the roles were explained during the webinar with past and present district leaders from around the world sharing their experiences. And following this, I'm happy to say we have already received a number of applications. Plus, people are writing to me, since I'm the DLC chair, to ask questions or to request one-on-one meetings with me to discuss in detail certain roles they're interested in. And that's great. It makes me very happy because I really enjoy the opportunity to support our future leaders.
Wonderful. And so, of course, the journey to area directorship is our discussion for tonight. But just as a plug for you, are there any particular roles that you're still finding you need some interest or submissions for that you want to mention? Or is it you're finding different candidates to fill each of the roles so far?
We're finding candidates or people expressing interest, but there's always room for more. And I'd just like to mention, before we go to the area directors, how one can apply. In case there's any confusion there, all you have to do is go to the District 109 website, click on the tab at the top labeled District 109, and then click on District Elections. And you will have access to the application form as well as a lot of relevant links and information. You will even have access to the webinar.
Wonderful.
And as a final note, you have until the end of January to apply. That is midnight on January 31st.
All right, January 31st there. So, and I'm sure that's been mentioned plenty of times. Maybe I can add a little comment or a banner here for us there. So, yeah, that's wonderful. Certainly, it sounds like as the District Leadership Committee Chair, you've really done many events and notices so that everyone should feel informed. And I did attend your webinar on the 8th, and thank you for inviting me to talk about my experience as a district director, which is not our point for tonight, but certainly let me ask you, just as a personal question, Lillian, you know, you've held many of these, if not all of these positions at the different levels within our district. What's been the biggest personal gain for you as you've gone through these different levels?
It's been a great learning experience that has supported me in my professional life as well. And if you ask me which role I preferred, I cannot tell you. Each role has something different to offer, whether you're an area/division director, or whether you're an administration manager, a program quality director, district director, and so on and so forth, the other roles as well. It's a very exciting journey. And I personally loved every minute of it.
Good. And will you be, after this moment, taking a break from leadership, or do you have future plans yourself to do other things?
Right now, I say that when I'm done with my district responsibilities, I'll take a small break and work with the district still.
Yes.
With the clubs, etc., helping with growth, helping wherever is needed. And then in the future, I'll see.
Yeah, we can never say never. So,
Exactly.
I mean, certainly, Lillian, you in the last 5 years or so, 7 years that I've been a Toastmaster, you've made a tremendous impact. And I just want to thank you on behalf of myself for the leadership that I've seen you give all of us in the district, and obviously then out into the other areas that you have as well. And it's been amazing to watch your journey as growth, as a person, as a leader. I know you've been a Toastmaster a long time, but of course, taking these roles, I'm sure, has enhanced your life in many different aspects. So well done. Really well done.
Thank you, David.
Yeah. Well, that's not it from you. We're going to leave you here in the broadcast studio tonight. And I have two current area directors that we would like to now invite into breaking news. Toastmaster Marika and Toastmaster Pearson, welcome to Breaking News. It's a pleasure to have you both here with us tonight as well.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Thank you, David.
Wonderful. So let's jump in. So your clubs and areas will probably know you, but just give us a little rundown perhaps on your current area, How many clubs? And which country or area are you in? So Marika, would you go first?
Sure, David. So I'm in Austria. My home club is in Innsbruck. And in my area, there are 3 clubs. There is Innsbruck, Salzburg, and Linz. It's 2 languages. So some clubs are German speaking and other ones are English speaking. And together, I would say we have around 50 members probably with these 3 clubs.
Okay, good. And quite a nice area down there in Innsbruck. So do you have any snow at the moment on top of the mountain?
A little bit, not as much as last year, though.
Interesting. And Persson, what about you? Where are you based, but also where is your area?
Yeah, where I'm based and where my area is completely different, but now we're using post-COVID pandemic digital opportunities. So I was in Mexico in the US for the last 6 months, but now in Mexico for the next 6 months. Basically, I escaped from winter, as you can see from my Christmas jacket. But I'm the area director of the area H2, which constitutes Istanbul Toastmasters, Istanbul Turkish-speaking Toastmasters. We call it Türkçe Toastmasters, and Bosphorus Toastmasters, which are 2 of them are English-speaking, and one is a Turkish-speaking club. And about me, I'm a Toastmasters member since 2015.
Yes.
I've held different positions. I've been president twice. I wasn't planning to, but post-COVID time, I became the president for the second time last year, and this year I'm the area director. So that's me.
Okay, so quite a journey then in the last 7 odd years there as well. So maybe we'll come back to shortly your experience doing it in a remote way. But I'd like to ask you both to tell us briefly about your Toastmasters journey. So Persson, you gave us some highlights there and other club roles, but what's been the most meaningful role on your journey to being area director, I think is a good way to start. So Persson, would you like to start with that?
Sure, but I don't think I have one answer to that. I wouldn't say like being the president has been the leeway to being the area director, but everything that I have done in Toastmasters, and I believe a lot in give and take in life. So I've tried to give as much as I took from Toastmasters because it did really help me become a better version of myself, both personally and professionally. So I've always taken positions when I could, and I've tried to do my best, as I'm trying to do right now as well. Obviously, becoming the president for the second time and still performing well made my colleagues realized that I could be a good candidate to be the area director, and they asked me if I was interested in it. And after checking my schedule and seeing if I could dedicate enough time for it, and remotely, as you said, we can talk about that later if you want, I said, let's do it. But the main idea that I want to do it is that I wanted to give back to the community even more. And obviously, I'm taking a lot in the process too.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. And Marika, what about you in terms of your journey towards being an area director?
It's totally unexpected, to be honest, because the first time when I came to the Innsbruck Toastmasters Club, it was 4 years ago, and I didn't even speak German that well. I was not very confident with it, and I couldn't imagine that I would ever lead a German-speaking club. So that was, well, if I look back at these 4 years, I'm really surprised how many things I learned. My first role was to support the board with VPM, so Vice President of Membership role. Then the next year, I took over VPE, the Vice President of Education. I was extremely afraid of this role because it requires you to ask people for things. And that was a big challenge for me. I'm kind of a person who loves to do things on my own and figure things out and not really rely on other people that much. So that was a big challenge. And then the next year, I took the president role. And I remember the conversation which I had with the current president, actually, where I was also saying, like, hey, could you be the VPE? And I told him that it's super easy. When I heard myself saying that, I realized only then how much I developed in 1 year. And I think this is the journey that motivates me also to engage in overalls, because I really see how it changed my life as well. So after that president year, I then became area director.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And Lillian mentioned this before, that, ideally you've been a VPE or a president in that journey as well. So your AD journeys began last July, but let me ask you, how prepared for the role were you? And was there a handover as such from your previous area director? So Persson, maybe you'd like to go first.
Sure. I mean, not to sound cocky, but I felt confident that I could do it, both in my Toastmasters experience and also in my work ethic, which my colleagues know very well.
Mhm.
And at first, there was discussions if I would want to apply for the division director, but then what my argument was, the former area director Tuana, she's doing a wonderful job. So
Mhm.
I believe that she would do a much better job with her experience. So I
Mhm.
said no, I would rather Tuana do it, and she was also motivated, and she did that. And I said, okay, even though that I'm an experienced member in Toastmasters, I always believe it's good to go step by step so you don't fall down fast. So I think the area director for me was the next best step on that as well, to continue my Toastmasters journey, which I plan to do for the rest of my life, even if I don't do it actively all the time. But
Mhm.
yeah, when I accepted it, the only issue for me was if I could prioritize it enough in my schedule.
Mhm.
My work style is usually I dedicate a little time, but regularly every day for something that I do. So that's what I'm doing here as well, and it works very well for me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, yeah. Thanks for dedicating your time on a Sunday. And Monica, what about you then, in terms of your preparedness for the role, and what did you have as a handover, perhaps from your previous AD?
So actually, I want to mention my mentor from my club, because he was the first one who kind of was preparing me for this. He was the area director, I think, 2 days before me. And not, did I say 2 days? 2 years, I
Today,
meant. Yeah. So 2 years before me. And what he said is that as club president, you learn to lead a group and you're there.
Mhm.
And as an area director, you can see how far you can influence with your leadership when you're not immediately present. So
Mhm.
this was the statement that he gave me, and that, of course, raised my curiosity. I had to experience something like that. But the proper handover I got only a little bit later
Mhm.
from our division director, who was area director the previous time, and she sent us this beautiful email with a lot of information about what's essential, when the deadlines are, and so on. It was very, very helpful, and that helps also to plan ahead, because we
Mhm.
all are Toastmasters, we all have our career lives and so
Mhm.
on. This
Mhm.
is like a pastime. I know it can take a lot of time, but it
Mhm.
still is a pastime. And knowing all this, tasks well ahead, it really helps to plan.
Mm. And if I remember, I assume, and I'm sure Lillian was part of this too, there would have been some district training, not only from your division directors, but coming to that district training around that June, July moment, I'm sure would have also helped you to have the right manuals, to know the right dates, to obviously meet the rest of the district team, and then to really come together as well. And actually, here's a side question, but we're all experienced Toastmasters. You all came to Vienna. Pearson, did you also come to Vienna? I
I mean,
don't remember.
in my life, I have been to Vienna, but not for
Not
the.
for that particular journey. So yeah, I guess there was that moment where a lot of the work probably now has been done online as a district team, but there was this moment there. So maybe Marika and even Lillian, if you want to just highlight what was the benefit, I think, for the leadership in coming together in these kinds of events. And for the person, you missed out, but maybe you come to another one. But yeah, Marika or Lillian, what was it like, in terms of enhancing your leadership to really come and meet here in Vienna?
Actually, now you reminded me about Ljubljana. I have to also say something
Oh,
about
Ljubljana,
Ljubljana.
we met. Yes. Yes, of
So
course.
that was really, really amazing, because the moment we changed the roles, we had this weekend together where we got to know other area directors. And of course, throughout this year, we all working together more or less.
Mhm.
Everyone has own area with own clubs, but to organize events like area conference or district conference, of course, you need more people. So this is really valuable, that you get to know people personally, because then it feels like you do cool stuff with friends instead of some stranger writing to you on internet or another email out of 500 that you get every day. So it really changes the dynamic, I think. And in Ljubljana, I really liked that there were lots of presentations, also a lot of interactivity, reflective questions, so we could all think about what we want to do with this year, what we need to pay attention to, and so on. This was very good. And
Mhm.
because I was in Ljubljana, I see Vienna as a kind of follow-up to that. But
Mhm.
my biggest memory is the voting procedures and like parliamentary procedures to decide on all the things about the contest. This was something totally new to me because I've never been in this kind of setting. And it's so interesting, the further you step on this Toastmaster journey, the more the landscape changes somehow. So that's how it felt to me. Lilian, maybe you'd like to add something.
I just wanted to say that indeed, Ljubljana was a transition meeting when the outgoing meet the incoming and everybody works together. And it is a wonderful opportunity for fellowship. And the incoming officers, as Marika said, get to meet one another. And they also meet their predecessors and they can all talk together and plan for the new year. So it's great. When you can get together like that, I strongly recommend it, whether it's Ljubljana, whether it's Vienna. We've been to many parts of our district, and it's always worth it.
Yeah. Is there another meeting coming in this half of the year for the area directors similarly, or is that it now? Does anyone know? I don't know.
The district team is discussing it.
I see. So it's in discussion.
One of the meetings will be online.
Yes.
It may be online in February, and there may be meetings in May.
Yeah.
Therefore, there will be an announcement coming.
Of course. So I think that's probably an important part of, because I'd like now to maybe direct to Persson and Marika about the journey that you've been on so far, some of these key responsibilities that you've had, so far, and what's coming. And of course, attending these weekends there, as much as it's fun to come to Vienna, there's also a work element and learning the parliamentary procedures and, really coming together to make some key decisions for the district. But yeah, what have you done so far? Because in my time, I remember some visits, some other things, raising clubs and really, kind of getting your fingers dirty into different things. So Persson, would you like to share some of your experiences so far of the role and how they've matched your expectations?
Of course. Well, I guess post-COVID, the dynamics have changed a bit. And one of the biggest challenges have been to remotivate people who have been demotivated by online meetings, which still happen. But this also brought a lot of advantages. So I was lucky because living in the American continent, that it allowed me to do this without being physically present there. And I'm almost jealous that you guys speak about all these fantastic events and conventions and meetings that I can't come, or it's hard for me to come because I'm pretty far away. But I would love to do it in the first opportunity. About the things that I do, usually my style is we're very much in communication with Tuana, and also your previous questions about handover. She's doing a great job. Whenever I write her, she replies immediately. She gives me all the details, and we're always in touch. And usually I dedicate like 15-20 minutes for my day where it says Toastmasters area work. I always ask Tuana, what would you like me to do next? What would you like me to do next? So far, we have been very busy with the COTs. We have done 2 COTs. That was very effective in a lot of senses. I have done area club visits, but they were online visits. I visited 2 of them. One club kept postponing, so I couldn't make it. But I already knew about how they were going. And the biggest challenge for the clubs are still reinvigorating the members' motivation and trying to go back to do physical meetings again, but this time do it hybrid. But it has its own challenges as well. So we're also trying to help the clubs a lot on this. And since there are less members now, or less motivated members, it's also harder to find more motivated or skilled board members. So we're also being very careful on who we motivate to be board members as well, so the clubs can continue sustainably. So what I feel, to wrap it up, it's more of a period of deepening than widening, because Toastmasters widened a lot in its past, but COVID brought opportunities to deepen a bit as well. The advantage for me is that we can do this all remotely, but the disadvantage was the dynamics have changed, and that is the process. So I guess I would say that is the biggest challenge that I'm doing. Apart from the COTs, we also translated the manuals to Turkish in this process, and all that would leave a permanent mark on the things that we did.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I mean, translation and local language is important. And I believe we've had one of my colleagues, Victoria, actually deliver some of breaking news in Turkey. And so we've been able to share that language as well, which is wonderful. Very important. So yeah, that's important for the legacy that you're leaving. That's great. What about you, Marika? How's your experience been with the tasks and responsibilities you've had?
I really love them. So what the first task is to organize the club officer training, which I see as a leadership training. And my whole career, my whole life is all about learning. So it was very, very rewarding and also a big boost to my confidence, of course, that I could do something like this and train members from all the other countries because it was open to the whole district. And to see this collaboration also with other area directors in my division, we organized our second COT together. It was also a lot of fun and helped us squeeze it in just before December. So we could transmit the information to our clubs as soon as possible, because the hybrid contests, they of course need a little bit more setup, preparation, and a little bit different competencies. So that's why we wanted to do it a bit earlier. And other than that, I did have my club visits. It was quite interesting because I don't have, like, some areas have all the clubs in one city, so you can just walk around. I had to drive like 250 kilometers, I think, for one of them. So that was quite a long trip. But I really loved meeting those people, and also my company was headquartered there, so I could combine Toastmasters with some networking, professional networking, and I got to visit my clubs twice, because the first time when we scheduled area visit, they didn't have so many members, so I couldn't really evaluate the normal meeting. So instead, I ended up sharing a little bit of my story as a speech, and then I had the area visit. These clubs also did quite well in terms of growth. So my biggest challenge is also to reactivate also a bit this more tenured Toastmasters, if you like, because I also agree with Persin that this pandemic, it kind of changed our dynamic and the energy level. So it would be really good to have this expertise still present in the club. That's what I see in Innsbruck, and it really, really helps. My third club in Innsbruck, they celebrated its 5th anniversary in December, and it was very, very special because every single past president was there and held a little bit of speeches. So it was really wonderful event. So as you can hear, I benefit a lot from this role.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And can I share with you a nice little moment that 5 years ago, I was the area director and I helped that club charter. So when they opened, I went down. Gabby Brandmeier was their president, I think, and I sang a song. I think one of the same songs I've sung in one of the other district events. But point being, it was a wonderful, wonderful moment to help that club. So I'm really pleased to hear 5 years on that you could have such a thriving, community there, which is wonderful. I have another question on the spot here a little bit, and I wanted to ask, how do you find, so in my club, we're Club Vienna Club 551, and we have a very we have a way of doing things. And so when you go to being an area director or taking other moments of leadership, you end up, I find, like widening your ideas. So has there been an experience, and I asked you, Lillian, as well, in your experiences. So, there might be, oh, we don't do joke of the day, or we do joke of the day, things like this. There's always little things that a club might do, and you think, oh, if only my club did that. Could I take that back? So for the three of you, has that ever happened, or have you had an experience where you thought, oh, I wish all clubs did that? Lillian, what are your thoughts? You're unmuting there.
All the time.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it as much when I was area director, because my clubs were in a small area and they were quite similar. But when I moved up the ranks and I started visiting clubs in other countries, whether virtually or in person, I started seeing major differences, even in the agenda, even the way they will introduce a general evaluator. As you mentioned, the joke master. Some clubs have a listening master, some don't. And some do different little things. The VP membership will come in the beginning and introduce the guests. In other clubs, it's the president. So it's all these little things that make each club unique.
Yes.
But at the same time, they do all have this common thread, which is lovely to see.
Yeah, wonderful. What about you, Persson and Marika? There's something like the joke master or an aspect that you think, oh, that was really nice? Persson.
That was one of my favorite parts of traveling around and joining Toastmasters meetings, because you would see a lot of different aspects. But again, the examples are similar, like Toastmasters, joke masters, grammarians, and yeah, different ways that they invite people, different ways that they start the meetings, different places that they do the meetings. So I
Mhm.
remember being flabbergasted a lot of times, where like, oh wow, yeah, oh wow, yeah. And one of the things that my original club, Istanbul Toastmasters, had been a very good example was, as you know, the timer usually shows something in different colors, like red
Mhm.
or yellow or green. We have a traffic light, which we are very popular for in our physical meetings. It's like a literal traffic light where we plug in
Oh,
and it goes yellow, green, yellow, and red.
yes.
So apart from learning a lot from other clubs, we also inspired a lot of clubs in implementing different methodologies in running their meetings.
Nice. Nice. What about you, Monica?
I'm trying to think very hard about something really specific and a cool story I could tell. And one thing that comes to my mind is when I visited the club in Linz. They had uh, they had a totally different way of doing the table topics that I did. And what they did is that the table topic masters, he brought a number of objects, and each person had to come to the stage, pick one object and sell it. So it was kind of, very interesting way to do table
Wow.
topics that I've never experienced before. And I kind of committed to myself to try this once in Innsbruck, which is something I
Mhm.
haven't done. So that's something I'm going to do this year probably.
Yeah.
And it was very, very refreshing as well. This kind of, not having only the questions, although they also trigger reflection and help you build this spontaneous speaking skills.
Mhm.
But training this sales speech, if you like, on the spot, that was
Mhm.
a totally different way of approaching the table topics.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, we should have a district forum of sharing of these kinds of stories as well. It'd be nice to share these moments, but that's what we're here on Breaking News for. So before I let you all go, because you have your evening to do, I'd like to ask you one final question. That is here: what has being an AD given you personally and or professionally at this stage of your journey? So maybe there's an insight, a moment, or a feeling, or a value. I don't know. Marika, would you like to go first?
For me, it's absolutely relationships and confidence. So when I think about relationships, I got to know so many cool people and work with them and get closer to some of them that I already admired some time ago. So that's really, really nice. Um, I always say that being an area director feels like having a different club that's not in one place, but
Mhm.
it's spread across 14 to 16 countries. And the energy in this club is very infectious. We have our WhatsApp group, and it's so interesting to see that people have a drive to do things, because most of people around, they kind of like low energy at the moment. Maybe it's because of winter, but
Mhm.
there is always this kind of spark going on, and that's really beautiful. And in
Yeah.
terms of confidence, I also, after I became area director, like 2 months later, I decided to start my YouTube channel because my team coaching course
Yes.
finished. And I also had the pleasure to interview you, David, to interview
Yeah.
Maria, who I got to know only because I was area director and was there in Ljubljana. So there is really a lot of nice impulses, nice insights being
Yeah.
passed around. But these
Yeah.
are the two things I benefited from the most.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's great, Marika. And Pearson, what about you? How have you grown personally and professionally?
I can count a lot, but Toastmasters has been a very big uh, change in my life that helped me become a better person and professional. So, being the AD, or holistically speaking, I guess giving back to the community is very satisfying. I really enjoy doing that, but I'm also taking a lot, obviously. It's not just selflessly me giving, improving my skills, from my time management skills to my communication skills as a non-native English speaker, improve my English on that time as well. These have been very useful because I can apply these skills on my life outside Toastmasters as well, and I
Mhm.
do. The area that I'm representing has been pretty new, joining the division and all that. So also representing where I'm from, my city, my country, my area, my district, and showing a good example that there are people with a lot of potential there. It also is very satisfying for me. And as Marika said, again, people that we meet, because places like Toastmasters, where people are there voluntarily, are people where people with higher frequencies can come. It's not just nobody's getting paid to be here, nobody's being pushed to be here. So these are already filtered people that want to create better versions of themselves. So being with such people really helps to create your own better version of yourself. So I guess that would be the top thing. And especially doing this on a European level, you meet even people with even higher frequencies like you guys. And that's something that you cannot buy with any amount of money. So that would be my top of the list, apart from the things that I have counted.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think if that's not an endorsement to apply to become an area director, I don't know what is, from both of you, Persson and Marika there. And Lillian, as we've heard before, has mentioned we have until January 31 this year to apply for the area director role. So if you are interested, of course, you can reach Marika and Persson, I'm sure, on LinkedIn and Facebook and other channels, or if you are in those areas where they are serving you right now, ask them. They're very approachable. And I really appreciate the three of you being on with me tonight on Breaking News and always making these episodes so special. So thank you for your words. Lillian, I leave the last word to you. Is there anything else you'd like to add that you would add now or forever hold your peace?
One final comment. You have indeed heard these wonderful stories, and you can hear many more stories if you just go around our district. So please do apply for your own sake. You'll love it.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Toastmaster Persson, Marika, and Lillian. I'll remove you now, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye.
Well, there you have it. So just to wrap up now, the journey to area director, please apply. As you saw, Lillian mentioned www.district109.org. There's information in there, including your nomination and application form. It talks more about the criteria. And of course, if you've been in touch or booked with Lillian, then that's also fantastic as part of the district leadership committee. So before we end up for tonight, let's just go to weather. So tomorrow's weather in Thessaloniki is 12 degrees, sunny and a little cloudy. In Ankara, 7 degrees and sunny and cloudy. In Jerusalem, 13, sunny and cloudy. Ljubljana, it looks like, I believe, some light snow, rain, and 2 degrees. So the coldest in our district tomorrow. In Nicosia, it's 13 and showers. Rome, 14, sunny and cloudy. Sofia is 5 and sunny. So this might be the place to go tomorrow, even though it's a little cold, but full sun tomorrow. Birkirkara, 16, sunny and cloudy. In Vienna, my city, it's going to be showers and 5, much as it was today, a little bit overcast. A nice time to be inside and thinking about your Toastmasters journey. And in Zurich, it's going to be 4, sunny and cloudy there as well. So if you have any news, please let us know. We now are in the second half of our breaking news season, and Laura, Filippi, myself, and our team here at Breaking News really want to share some highlights with you as we go towards contest season. It may be time to think about, what's happening in your clubs, what's going on, and we'd like to share that across the district. So if you do have some news, choose d109prm@gmail.com. Then you can let us know. We'll be in touch, and then we'll be able to invite you on, perhaps as a guest. And if language, we have multiple peoples that speak different languages, so we'd be able to find your local language as well. So my name is David Corcoran. It's been a pleasure to be back here with you tonight for Breaking News. I do hope you've enjoyed. Whether you're watching now live and you've been watching, thank you very much, or you are watching indeed afterwards. All the best, take care, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.